To the people of Hong Kong, their fight is about freedom and human rights. To the Chinese Communist Party, the fight is also about these things, plus one more.
Everybody in China wants to control that money in Hong Kong.
That fight also involves the United States.
They control, and and the Democratic Party, all right? I used to love the Democratic Party, and then they infiltrated, even up to Clinton's and Biden, you name it, all bought. And even the Republican Party, 3 years ago, 2017, all the Republican, the fundraising, all those groups were all paid off.
And yet, much of America is oblivious to the CCP's influence.
Every 5 years, average, they commit a major crime against humanity. This is an criminal organization.
China passed a national security law for Hong Kong, which deprives the Hong Kongers of their freedom and security. In the wake of this, I sat down with Elmer Yuen, a Hong Kong entrepreneur who has lived in China, Hong Kong, and the United States for many years. He decodes for us what's really at stake in the communist regime's suppression of Hong Kong, and he has a bold suggestion that will solve this problem once and for all. Thank you very much, Mr. Yuan, for being with us today.
Hello, Simone.
Hello. So on May 28th, China's People's Congress passed the National Security Law for Hong Kong, which basically deprives all freedom in Hong Kong and turns it into an ordinary city in mainland China. China passed it despite the street protests in Hong Kong and international pressure, but it fell short of formulating detailed provisions afterwards. So what could they have talked about? What do you make of the whole thing? Will the Chinese Communist Party really implement the national security law in Hong Kong?
When they passed, it's not really the full law when they passed it in, was it in April?
It's in May 28th.
Oh, May 28th. There was no detail. They were testing the water to see what the world reaction is. Their guess was U.S. is going to sanction a few Hong Kong officials and a few Chinese officials involved with Hong Kong. So they believe that's going to be the U.S. reaction. The rest don't count. Rest of the world don't count, because those people only care about their own human rights and so on. They have no spare resource to help Hong Kong. So after they've announced, of course, there's tremendous reaction within Hong Kong and with the U.S. And as you can see that Secretary Pompeo first said they're going to report to the Congress that it's a violation, and then it's a violation in Hong Kong, and President Trump in 1 week announced he's going to treat Hong Kong as any other city in China, and is going to remove the preferential treatment. There's always been a preferential treatment for Hong Kong. He's going to remove that because it's no longer one country, two systems. So that is a huge reaction, because taking away that preferential treatment is not only a matter of tariff, meaning Hong Kong goods can come to U.S. for much less or almost zero tariff, and the U.S., some sensitive goods can go to Hong Kong. So that's only the trade. As you know, today, it's far more than trade. So by removing the preferential treatment, U.S. basically can say they decouple or depeg the Hong Kong dollar and the U.S. dollar. What does that mean? That means the Federal Reserve was actually can help Hong Kong dollars in case there's a bank run. So, but once you decouple, then your Federal Reserve is no longer responsible to back up the Hong Kong dollars in case there's any crisis. So that is a tremendous blow to Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a financial center. We have a huge reserve. about let's say 0.4 trillion US dollars. We have that kind of foreign reserve. But then, of course, it would be much better to have the Federal Reserve as a supporter or as a backup. So right now, of course, Secretary Pompeo is waiting for Chinese to give the details for that national security law. Once they disclose the detail, then, of course, Secretary Pompeo is going to hit them with our details, with the U.S. details. So it's going to be very, very drastic. And last week, I think last Friday, even Secretary of Finance, Mr. Mnuchin, has basically threatened the Chinese that he has the right to stop U.S. dollar going in and coming out of Hong Kong. So that's very serious. If he only has to announce that he's going to do it in a future date, the minute he announces it, 24 hours later, Hong Kong is no longer a financial center. Even individuals or company who wants to wire their US dollar in and out of Hong Kong will not be possible. So that is a very drastic, almost like a nuclear grade, atomic grade threat. So I believe, and together last week there was this Republican Party threat or suggestion of sanctions against 2 Politburo standing committee members, and also a bunch of the other people responsible for the Hong Kong, this national security law. So that is also a threat because they will be sanctioned. Those individuals were sanctioned. I think that's why Yang Jiechi requests a meeting with Secretary Pompeo. And for them to come all the way to Hawaii, Hawaii, of course, is U.S. territory, means they have something that they want to something they want to ask U.S. for.
What could they have asked the U.S. for? I mean, would they say, just don't do this law or do whatever you want us to do?
I'm speculating, but of course I have a lot of experience. They are going to say that please lower your threat on Hong Kong, which means U.S. threat, and we are willing to retreat also on this national security. I think it's a sign that they want to negotiate because the punishment is too heavy. Hong Kong accounts for 75% of China's foreign income, U.S. dollar income. And by losing its preferential treatment, basically they will lose their wallets. So it's a very serious threat.
Okay, so the preferential treatment to Hong Kong will be revoked no matter they implement the national security law in Hong Kong or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. But do you think the national security law will be implemented in the end in Hong Kong?
With my experience last year, remember the extradition law? They finally put it on hold. And then at the end, they withdraw it. So from my speculation, all right, I don't have any proof, I believe something similar will happen because the U.S. is so powerful and so determined to fight them. So they will withdraw to basically delay the impact from U.S. And U.S. has an overall plan. It's not just China. There's military plan. There is financial, economic, all kinds of. I mean, it's not in the paper, but you are really in a full-blown war with China, and it's no longer, not even a Cold War.
But that would be a big face-losing scenario for Xi Jinping, right?
Last year, same thing, face-losing. The communists always say, oh, we have big face, we have big face. I mean, even before they took over China, they surrendered to Chiang Kai-shek 2 times, right? And so they have the art. They are so good with deceit. And what all this face business, that's only part of the negotiating terms. And if we believe that, and of course U.S. think Chinese have face and face, that's really BS. Don't believe a part of that. They believe in real power. You have to deal with them in real power.
Tell us what Hong Kong has gone through in the past 23 years since the CCP took over Hong Kong in 1997.
For
You
5
were there
years.
the whole time, right?
I was there the whole time. I'm a Hong Kong resident. I still hold a Hong Kong passport. So from 1997, the first 5 years was pretty good. All right, they respected everything. And Jiang Zemin said, "I have a book on the basic law in my pocket all the time." That's the first 5 years. And then somebody trying to be patriotic say, "Oh, you must have a national security law legislate in Hong Kong." That's what was mentioned in 2003. So they raised it. And then the Hong Kong people are really quite against it because they are kind of playing a lot of games under the table. So we said, no, we're not ready for it yet. And so there was a huge demonstration in 2003, 500,000 people in Hong Kong. At that time, that was a record number of people turn out. And that caused the resignation of the first chief executive, Dong Jianhua. And also they withdrew it and put it on the shelf. That's what they call the article number 23. And they know if they bring it up again, they're going to lose election after election. So they've been very, very quiet. It's the Hong Kong politicians that are reluctant to submit the legislation again, because if they raise it, they will lose all the seats in the Legislative Council. But then it's about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, there was a kidnap. The Chinese came to the most expensive hotel, the Four Seasons Hotel in Hong Kong, and kidnapped a mainland, basically a mainland investment banking type of guy. He handles all the money for the corrupted officials, and he lives in Hong Kong in the hotel. All right, and Xiao Jianhua, and they kidnapped him in the Chinese New Year Day, and without any illegally kidnap him and ship him over the border. Tremendous international reaction because this is illegal in Hong Kong. It was just pure and simple kidnap across the border. So then, huge reaction. So that's why last year they tried to have this extradition law, so they can extradite people legally. And they were actually aiming at those corrupted officials because they probably have around $2 trillion US, those officials hidden in Hong Kong. So by extraditing them or kidnapping them back to China, they can shake them up and get those money out. And those money actually never goes back to the Chinese treasury. Those families will split them. That's the way it is, all right? So all the money outside China disappears, all the corruption money. So anyway, they tried that law, and the Hong Kong people went on the street. I'm sure you've seen them, all right? Millions, and this is not 500,000, 1 million, and then 2 million people went on the street. You saw them last year. And the kids are very angry. So they were actually having, with umbrella, they have no weapons. We're fighting the police. All right?
The umbrella movement.
Yeah, and these kids were very brave. They kept the movement on for almost a year until the virus came. So last year, again, they failed to pass their extradition law. They want to control, everybody in China wants to control that money in Hong Kong. Hong Kong itself is a financial center, huge amount of money. Money from all over the world. Hong Kong people have their money, and then the corrupted officials, those families have their money. So everybody wants to control Hong Kong. Whoever controls Hong Kong can control that money, all right? So it's their dream. This is why they propose this national security law. So that they can send in the police. They can even send in their judge, all right? They say for this kind of national security crime, we need our own judge, which means, that's the Hong Kong system out of the door. So they will send in their police, they will send in their prosecutors, they will send in their judge. That's what they want to do. The aim is very simple. It's always the money, all right? Last month, the head of Hong Kong security, Charles Lee, Hong Kong Stock Exchange, Charles Lee resigned, right? Because they want to control that stock exchange. And why the stock exchange can make so much money? IPOs. The IPO, that committee that examined the IPO, those people make so much money and they have so much power. It's in Shanghai, it's in Shenzhen. Now they want to control the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And remember last year they're trying to buy the London Stock Exchange. There's huge amount of money involved, huge amount of money. And so basically, Xi Jinping didn't have really control over China finance, right? So he is, by controlling Hong Kong, he captures Hong Kong, and his eventual aim is also Shanghai. Shanghai is the real financial center of China. So this is a game of money, about money.
So just how important is Hong Kong to, those high-level officials? They have family businesses in Hong Kong. They have real estate. They have investments in Hong Kong. Just how important is Hong Kong to the Chinese Communist leadership elites?
All these public companies in Hong Kong, all right, from China, we call H share. H meaning Chinese stock, but listed in Hong Kong Exchange. The H shares, all those shareholders are mainly the Chinese families, all right? You think Alibaba is owned by Jack Ma? No longer, all right? Finally, time has come that he has to cough up all those shares to the families who made him. The family allowed him to have this payment, this Taobao payment. Without that, that payment is very, very powerful. Can you imagine a private company can go into any bank and take out the money to pay the merchant? You know how powerful that is? They can reach into any bank, middle of the night, and if you want to do your shopping in Alibaba, right, in Taobao, they have to pay the merchants. So they have the right to reach into your account in any bank in China and pay that money, to transfer that money to the merchant, right, who's going to ship the merchandise. You know how powerful that is without the family? This is the more powerful than even Xi Jinping or Li Keqiang put together to allow that kind of thing to happen. Same thing as WeChat. In China they use WeChat to pay people. Again, same thing. WeChat, we call them Tanxing, right? Tanxing. They have the right to go to every bank, into your bank account, get the money out and pay a taxi driver. That's how powerful it is. So that right can only be given by that's more powerful than the government or the party. And that's why after they go public, a while, those guys want to call in their favors. And they are the real shareholder of these huge companies that U.S. investor pays billions of dollars in their IPOs.
If the communist elites have such a huge interest, financial interest in Hong Kong, I imagine they will want to protect Hong Kong, right? They will want to protect their own interests. So what's the split within the Chinese Communist Party, their stance towards Hong Kong? What's their fight like?
Simone, you are generalizing, all right? You are taking them as a collective. It's not a collection. Every family is fighting against each family for more money or power, all right? So if Xi Jinping controls the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, the Hong Kong police, the Hong Kong banks, so on, basically he can control all the families individually, not as a collective, all right? And then I'm not saying he's not that corrupted compared to many, many families. His family is not that corrupted. Let's be clear, all right? But he is for power. This man is the most powerful man in the world for life. And so he can use the money, the capital in Hong Kong, and direct them to increase his power, not only on Hong Kong, not only on China, but in the world. It's very, very powerful. Let me tell you one suspicion, all right? Suspicion, I have no proof. But the software in the Shanghai Stock Exchange Shenzhen Stock Exchange and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, the software, the trading software is made by Beijing University, 北大方正, right? And let me tell you, this has been suspected. There's no proof, all right? But I want to tell everybody. I don't mind you guys go. They come after me. When the transaction, whenever in the real world, let's say in the Nasdaq or Dow Jones, when there's a transaction, automatically the index is updated, correct? When there's a change of price. But if you can control that software, you can make it happen, let's say a few seconds later. At the end of the day, everything is real. But the change of the index, if you can delay that for even 1 second, do you know how much money they can make on program trading?
How much?
This is what, oh my God. Much, much more than stock trading stock. Index is where the real money is. I would say that few hundred billion a month. There's a whole gang of such people. They don't care. They make so much money every day. They are playing with this. And remember, during the negotiation trade negotiation between U.S. and China, these guys are getting first-hand information right after each talk. All right, some Chinese in that trade talk will send them a message. I don't know how they got the message, and they make so much money because they are few seconds ahead of everybody. And in index or that kind of program trading, that makes a huge difference.
Okay, but doesn't, destroy Hong Kong, destroy his prospect of controlling all these families and destroy his prospect of staying in power for Xi Jinping?
They didn't think Secretary Pompeo and President Trump is going to stand up. There's tremendous pressure from Wall Street, all right, not to remove the Hong Kong special status and not to break up the peg, because the Wall Street is in cahoots with the CCP, all right? So they believe that the Wall Street can influence President Trump not to take any drastic measure. They make the Wall Street, on the surface, make about $300 billion a year from Hong Kong, all right, by IPO and doing this kind of financial trading, bonds and everything. But these investment bankers privately, this IPO, they split the IPO shares and so on. You guys know, they make so much money personally, all right? So they are very close to CCP. So CCP said, oh, I don't think Trump will do anything drastic. They would just punish a few Hong Kong officials for passing that law. But somehow, I think Trump is very, very angry because of the pandemics, the kind of life loss, unemployment, and money loss. So he decided to go all the way, gave them really the hard one, which is removing Hong Kong status, and meaning that remove China's wallet for US dollars.
So you're basically saying Xi Jinping made a miscalculation on Hong Kong. He thought Wall Street would be so powerful to influence President Trump and not make him move on Hong Kong. Is that right?
Yeah, that misjudgment, let me tell you, that misjudgment has been happening in the last 2 years, from the beginning of the trade negotiation. Let me tell you about the CCP, all right? In China, in the communist China, people don't count. You see all these TV series, you never see the people, all right? It's always the emperor, the empress, government officials, all right? Or maybe occasionally you see a merchant. People don't count. People have no power. There is no vote. So when they consider things, they say, I come to deal with the Wall Street, the elite in US. Who are the elite? The Wall Street, the corporate CEO, the fund managers, what they call end-of-field politicians, all right? That like Bill Clinton and so on, Biden and so on. So the Chinese thought they have these people locked up. would do anything for China. So they get their information from these people, not from the people, really the grassroots of U.S. So they thought U.S. is run by the elite, all right, and the globalists like Henry Kissinger and all these people, all right. They get their opinion, so they don't trust the information from people. They never even have any contact with the real people in the States. So their judgment is based on the information by these elites. And these elites are all paid. Consultant fee, business fees, this fee, that fee. These people are rich, even including all these lots of professors in the Ivy Leagues, all right? And the major media, all right? All in the major media, all been paid. Right? And so the information they get from the information the Chinese get, all right, are basically from these people who like to speak well of what they can do to help China so they can be paid more. Do you understand? So they keep on saying, no problem, this will happen, that will happen, we'll help you as long as you pay me more. That is the key. So what happened, the Chinese say, oh, very good, we have US under control, all right? They on the trade negotiation, repeatedly they misjudged because of wrong information. So they were testing the Chinese. No, they were testing the American during the negotiation. But Trump got really pissed. You remember, middle of last year, he increased the tariff. He said, I'm tired of it. He just jumped up. And again, they were surprised. Same thing here. The Chinese thought U.S. is only going to react very mildly after they put through the national security law. Their thinking is this: oh, I'm helping the American. I'm helping them so Hong Kong street will be peaceful, and the American businessmen, namely those investment bankers, all right, they can have peace, making more money. This is their mentality, all right? They want to help their partner to make more money. At the same time, they have control of Hong Kong. This is their mentality. They don't think about people of Hong Kong. They do not think about people of U.S. In their mind, people don't exist, even though they call themselves the People's Republic of China. That people is fake. Remember that. There is no people in China. So people are a slave and people are a number. That's all. So they misjudge because they only trust the elite. And U.S. and Hong Kong, fortunately, people have some rights. Hong Kong, these young kids don't understand what are their rights. So they keep on fighting. U.S., of course, all the people knows their rights, and they're very angry at China. So they want Trump to do something drastic, right? And right away. So this national security law came in, so gave U.S. a chance to really hit them hard. Not only U.S., now Pompeo has rounded up all the nations in the world who all suffer from this pandemics. So they are all ganged up together. So in a way, I rather they pass the law so that everybody, this time the whole world can hit them back very hard, including Hong Kong. We'll suffer a little bit under this law, right? This is very serious for Hong Kong people.
This is not a little bit. Hong Kong is
it's not a little bit. It's going to be a Holocaust. It's going to be a Holocaust for the young kids, all right? The elderly, the rich can leave. They have passport, foreign passports. But the kids are going to really suffer.
Right. I'm going to ask you that a little bit later, but I just want to comment. I think the Chinese Communist leadership need to get a lesson on popular movement from Mr. Bannon. Don't you agree?
Simone, it's way beyond lesson, all right? Don't waste time teaching them a lesson. Don't waste time telling them that they should have a change of leadership, change of politician. It's over. From in the last 71 years, look at their crimes against humanity. I'm making a huge list and a video, all right? This is a country has committed again and again, every 5 years, average, they commit a major crime against humanity. This is an criminal organization. It needs to be named in your Congress and in your federal court. And all the members, they have 90 million Communist Party members. They should all be sanctioned. We need to get rid of this CCP once and for all.
Okay. So I know you came to America this time on a mission. Is this part of your mission? Tell me about your mission.
This is the most important mission I have, all right? Because I've been coming here in the 70s, in the 80s, and so on. So I'm quite familiar with the RICO law that they used to use against the crime families in New York, and who you don't have to prove any crime as long as you're part of that organization or gangster, you're guilty. So the same with the CCP. The 90 million members are part of the crime family, and there is no country in China. Look at this, all right? What is China? They claim one country and then one nation and one country, two systems. They keep on using the word one country. Show me a constitution they really adhere to, all right? The prime minister is not in power. All the government ministers are not in power. Everyone, they are just puppet. Behind the strings are the party secretaries. In every organization, even a little restaurant, you have a manager. Behind the manager, there is the party secretary. So this land, all right, we call China, is run by this CCP, the biggest gangster group in the world. And below them, they have 90 million members. And below the members are the 1.4 billion people. Who are they? Slaves. That's all they are. Slaves. They have no freedom. And you think they have money? They have this funny money called RMB. Nobody accepts it outside China. All the US dollar we earned, invested by US, and then the Chinese earned by exporting. You're buying all that thing from Walmart and Costco, all right? All those US dollars they earned, total 20 trillion. 10 trillion went into paying for more goods or raw material to come in. The other 10 trillion US dollars, I'm talking about real money, not the funny money. Those families split, all right? And that's why you go to every major city. The other 10 trillion, the family split. So they have investment in all these global funds. They are the real investors. They use companies to hold their shares. And what you can see are all the most expensive real estate property are all owned by these families. You can see them in the evening, expensive apartment with no lights, right? They just keep them. They have so much money. That's why they can buy anything or buy anybody. It's really, really serious. And one of the family was exposed by Mao Square is the it's called the Hainan Hainan Group. And they were controlling, all right, including, they also borrow money. So they were controlling over $20 trillion worth of assets. That's how bad it is. And when they were ready to go public, Mao basically said, show me your shareholders. How come your shareholders are so young, in their 30s? How did they get this huge amount of money? So all the underwriters backed out. And then they were counting on the IPO money to pay off all the loans, and didn't happen. So finally, that whole thing collapsed. That whole group, all right? It would have been the biggest investment banker, let's put it that way, in the world. They own 10% of Deutsche Bank. Then you know, they own Hilton and all that stuff, all right? Everything. And their aircraft is so beautiful. So many 787s, the Dreamliners, all these Dreamliners. But anyway, I don't want to go into so many details, but finally their chairman died, all right? And then the company, of course, lost huge money because they couldn't pay their debt. And then they put the company to Hainan Island, which is a province in China, and let the government pay for all the loss and bear for all the bad debts. So they are draining. They are sucking blood from the Chinese people, right?
So Okay. So just how big of an influence does the Chinese Communist Party have on the American society? You talked about, Wall Street being bought by the Chinese Communist Party, but is that just one area, one aspect of the American society? Or there are many other, different levels of American government, other organizations are also bought by the Chinese Communist Party?
Wall Street, all right, Wall Street, and the Ivy League schools. Look at what Harvard did. Harvard is basically their private school. They can send all their kids to Harvard. Xi Jinping's daughter goes to Harvard, right? You think she's qualified? Unbelievable. That family is not good for studying. They are no good. We know, Anyway, all the Ivy League school, Hollywood, right? And all the major league, NBA, the basketball, they own them. The major newspaper, except Fox, right? Or they actually, the newspaper, they have editorial right next to the editorial. Give them the space and let the Chinese paper write whatever they want. Can you imagine? You tell me they have a press independence. That's BS, right? They control, and and the Democratic Party, all right? I used to love the Democratic Party, and then they infiltrated, even up to Clinton's and Biden, you name it, all bought. And even the Republican Party, 3 years ago, 2017, all the Republican, the fundraising, all those groups were all paid off. That's why you remember Steve Wynn, all paid for. Roger Stone, and then the guy who raised all the money for the Republicans. So anyway, this group is gone now, and there are still quite a few of them left in the different government departments. It's really serious. It's really serious.
Yeah, so now with the rise of the hawks and super hawks in America, there finally is this battle between the Chinese Communist Party and the Western world. And so in this battle, they engaged in a battle economically, politically, and ideologically. So tell me the role of Hong Kong and Taiwan in this battle.
Hong Kong and Taiwan, we are basically the front line. We're in war. U.S. and China are in war, right? Even though on the paper it looks peaceful. But Hong Kong and Taiwan are not only the territorial front line, but the ideological front line between U.S. and China. And I believe watching President Trump and Secretary Pompeo, I think they're going to hold that line, even though Hong Kong is under control by the communists territorially, all right? But I think they're going to hold these lines, because if you retreat, then you're going to keep on losing, and then you're going to lose Japan, Korea. They are so good. The communists are so good. They bought off so many people, politicians in Japan and Korea, and before even Taiwan. Only the Taiwanese people saw 2 years ago, last year, what happened to Hong Kong. They decided to elect Tsai Ing-wen. Otherwise, the nationalists, which are backed by the communists, would have won. They were going to win, except that Hong Kong strike last year, the protest last year, really helped Taiwan and woke Taiwan's people up, because Taiwan suddenly see, oh, this is one country, two system. Are you kidding? So they all voted for Tsai Ing-wen. So this is really the front line. We, of course, are there. We face it every day. We know people in U.S. They are used to living in peacetime. They're not used to live in war condition. But we live in Hong Kong. We are in the front line every day. So it's very serious. It's a clash of two cultures. The tyrannical, totalitarian state and the free state, led by freedom state, led by U.S. So it's a clash. they are worse than the Nazis.
Yes, clash of culture and civilizations. So tell me, I mean, what's happening in Hong Kong? Because we're seeing these young people are in the front line. Why are the young people in Hong Kong in the front line of combating the CCP?
Let me tell you, people over 40 years old or even 35 years old, they already have their apartment, right? And in Hong Kong, as you know, the apartment is worth a lot of money. Hong Kong is the most expensive real estate in the world. So basically, everybody who has an apartment is a millionaire, right? So if worse to the worst, they can always migrate. With money, you can always get passport and green cards. But then people under 30, or even the students, they have no asset. They have no apartment. And their future is in doubt, and they have to face the communists once they take over Hong Kong. So those people are fighting. They know this is their future. They are fighting for their future. That's what's happening. It's always, if you watch the Darkest Hours, you know, the one about Churchill and England, it's the grassroots who would never surrender. The wealthy, the elite, they are so scared they want to settle with Hitler. Hong Kong is right now very, very similar to UK, England, before the attack of Nazi Germany, right? And US is not willing to help until the Hong Kong people or the UK people really committed to protect themselves. Watch that history. We are not yet in Berlin yet. Hong Kong is not. People sometimes describe it as Crimea, sometimes describe it as West Berlin. No, Hong Kong is like England before the Nazi attack. We are almost like the Dunkirk retreat, the darkest hour. And it's the people who are fighting because they cannot leave.
Right. It's the people, the Dunkirk. It's the people who reversed the
who
history.
stood up. And then finally, US, of course, came in and helped the situation and finally conquered Germany. And this is what's happening in Hong Kong. We are fighting, and we believe, we believe the US will finally come to our aid if we stay firm.
Do you think so far the US government has done enough to support the people of Hong Kong?
Last year, they weren't doing much, all right, only lip service. And, but Trump did one thing, because the Chinese want to send in their People's Liberation Army to suppress the protests. And Trump, through Pompeo, did warn them not to do it. And the Chinese didn't do it, right? So US helped a lot last year. But last year, this is Hong Kong's business, nothing to do with US, right? I mean, Hong Kong is a faraway country, and the Chinese, they are used to suffer and so on. So, but this year, of course, with the pandemic, it's a different story. They know the same enemy can hurt every single American citizen. I mean, I walk around and nothing is open, no business. I can't even go to a restaurant, all right? Hong Kong, we have the greatest restaurant. We're always looking for a restaurant. No restaurant open, meaning you guys, every one of you guys are suffering. And this is why you have to do something to shut down that CCP. Otherwise, the whole world will continue to suffer.
You know, as you know, America is experiencing turmoil. America is experiencing turmoil after George Floyd's death, and peaceful protests in many places were turned into riots. Some cities even disbanded their police department. The CCP and its supporters are saying, America, now you are experiencing what Hong Kong had experienced. If the Trump administration wants to put out the protests on American street, they should keep quiet when the Hong Kong police suppress the people on the Hong Kong streets as well. What do you say?
Simone, it's not just a publicity issue. China is not only using that incident to take advantage in terms of global publicity. That's not only it. They are funding it to make it a nationwide riot They're funding it behind the scene, all right? And that organization, what? Antifa. Find out their background, all right? Where their fund come from, where their money come from. This is, let me tell you, I don't want to be unkind, but the real fact is Americans lost the first round, which is the pandemic. Huge loss, all right? Unbelievable. Biblical proportion. Now, this riot is the second round. And then, you know what the third round is? Trump will lose his election. This is what they're working on now, to make sure they get rid of Trump, so that they can have Biden, their friend.
Okay. But do you think the protests on Hong Kong streets and the protests on American streets are even comparable?
Of course not. The kids want freedom. Here it's a riot. Of course, you have a lot of peaceful demonstrators, but some of them are looting, and somebody has to take care of the lootings.
So on Hong Kong
in Hong Kong, there's
those
no such
kids
thing
are
as
very
looting.
law-abiding,
The
right?
kids, you know, after demonstration, they pick up all the garbage and then organize all the garbage cans. That was really peace, except the police. The police are the rioters in Hong Kong. They are not Hong Kong police. They are Chinese police dressed in Hong Kong police uniform. They come with their spraying pepper right in front of your face. And then they have all kinds of weapons. All the kids have is an umbrella. That's all they have. You can look at all the videos. It went on for almost a year. The protester, it's the other way around. The violence is caused by the mainland Chinese police. The Hong Kong police are very well trained in the old days by the British, so they have a system of training. So they don't have that brutality. But the mainland Chinese police, it's the military police dressed in Hong Kong's police uniform, were beating up the kids, raping, murdering, and lots of them disappear over the border. Altogether, right now, almost close to 10,000 arrests, all right? So one of the purpose of my coming here is I'm going to request Secretary Pompeo and President Trump to give these kids a chance to come to the U.S. college, to get a U.S. college education without discriminating them for having an arrest record, all right? And allow them to apply for schools same as everybody else. These kids are very good, no problem. Everyone is good in school. So we want the Trump administration to recommend to the schools, not those Ivy Leagues, all right? Not those. We hope to some conservative religious schools, and who will admit these kids and make them the future leader of China.
Wonderful. These are all my questions. Do you have anything else to add?
Sorry, I haven't thought about it. But you can ask me whatever, it's okay. But it's a war. It's a war between two ideologies. And I'm sure we'll win. They'll lose.
Okay. We win, they lose, just like President Reagan said.
Exactly. He's my model.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Yuen, for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.